Everyone needs to keep doing their part. Stay home if you can, so essential vehicles have full tanks and can clear the roads that they need and clear roads they need to do their jobs. If you need to go shopping, please check in on a neighbor to see if you can save someone a trip. People in border communities can also head south to pick up essentials without taking a PCR test upon re-entry. And when I say essentials, I mean food and fuel. I don't mean family trips or Black Friday shopping expeditions. I want to thank Ottawa and our neighbors to the south for working together to make this possible. In closing, I want to say this. It's more important than ever that we stick together. Now is the time for patience and compassion as we all come to terms with the scale of this disaster. The hard part of rebuilding is ahead of us, but I know we're going to be able to do it with the true British Columbia spirit that we all know we have. So with now, I'd like to turn this update over to Minister Fleming.
Good morning. I'm pleased to bring this update this morning on behalf of the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. Obviously, the topic of our updates has been around reopening vital highway corridors, and the substance of today is about that as well. Getting corridors open from the Lower Mainland has been and continues to be our highest priority to make sure that supply chains can be maintained. Crews have been working non-stop for the better part of a week now to make this happen. We now have 2 routes connecting the Lower Mainland with the interior and the north open for essential travel. They've been operating now for a few days. Highway 7, of course, connecting with Highway 3, opened Friday afternoon. This is the designated route for heavy commercial vehicles. Highway 99, connecting with Highway 97, opened on Saturday afternoon. Both routes are operating well, given that the context is far from travel as usual. We continue to urge, though, patience and safe driving for motorists, including being prepared for winter conditions. On that note, we will be adding some signage to the Highway 3 and 99 routes, further reminding drivers to slow down and drive with caution. There are work crews in the area, and these are congested areas that are still under repair and under active traffic management. It is reassuring, though, that the important goods that we all rely on are moving. And this is very, very good news. As we reactivate the supply chains, we continue to work closely with other levels of government, as well as many companies and organizations. Canadian Pacific, CP Rail, is cautiously optimistic it can restart operations tomorrow evening, barring any unforeseen events. So they are making tremendous progress on repairing track that will connect us right through to the Alberta border and with the rest of Canada. This would be a very important and welcome development for goods movement for our country, and we will update on the status of those track repairs and when service is expected to resume. Highway 1 Lower Mainland, on Saturday evening we opened the stretch of Highway 1 east of Chilliwack from Bridal Falls area to Hope. Traffic has moved well through there. This is an area that is not currently part of the travel order, but we are asking drivers to really consider whether being out on that road is truly essential. We do not want it to become congested. We are seeing some progress on the section of Highway 1 in the Sumas Prairie area near Abbotsford, in the immediate Abbotsford vicinity. Water has receded between Highway 11 and Cole Road, and we're at a point where we can reopen this road today at noon. Again, though, for very restricted use. As of today, the section of Highway 1 between Highway 11 and Yale Road near Chilliwack will be covered by the essential travel order. This will allow farmers and those supporting the impacts to agriculture from the floods to get back to their farms. It would allow emergency responders and vehicles to get in and do further repairs. And at this time, the most easterly part of that segment, the stretch of Highway 1 between Cole Road and Yale Road in Chilliwack, remains flooded, and we don't currently have an estimated time of reopening as of this morning. Moving to Highway 1 at Fraser Canyon, up towards the Fraser Canyon. Last evening, we were able to open Highway 1 between the First Nations community of Boothroyd and Hope. This now provides Yale, Spuzzum, and Boston Bar a direct link to the Lower Mainland. As with the other routes that have recently opened, we ask you to only travel, though, if it is absolutely essential. And drivers should expect delays. There are areas on this reopened part of Highway 1 that are subject to single alternating travel lanes, and crews, again, continue to work. So drivers must be very mindful of their safety. This road does not fall under any orders, but again, avoid unnecessary travel in this area, please. We need to allow the residents of these communities, some of whom have been unable to access supplies and medical resources since they were cut off last week. For the segment between Spence's Bridge and Boston Bar, crews are working very closely with the railways. Temporary repairs are getting underway, which is good progress. The temporary repairs to get traffic moving are also anticipated to take several weeks, and I'll continue to provide updates as work progresses there. Moving over to the Highway 5 Coquihalla, we know it will be some time before we see traffic on that very important corridor where we fully understand how important the Coquihalla is to our province for east-west travel, and in particular for the movement of goods. Work is getting underway on temporary repairs and construction access that will allow traffic to start moving, and while plans are also being prepared for permanent rebuilds at multiple sites, we don't yet have clear timelines there beyond many weeks for the temporary work and many, many months for the permanent repairs. But I hope to be able to provide a little more clarity on this situation in the coming days. Vancouver Island, all routes are open now. The sinkhole on Highway 19 just north of Nanaimo was repaired on Saturday evening to a degree that allows traffic to get through. Further work continues there, and as traffic continues to flow well on the Malahat, albeit at a slower pace, as crews will remain on site doing more repair work for quite some time. And I would actually direct your attention to the Malahat. It has been flowing in both directions. It has been working very well, but we had a truck collision with a median barrier there. And again, it's a reminder, drive to conditions. Drive slowly, because we've had to close that highway to get that truck taken off the road. I'll just say in closing, there's no question we have a lot of work ahead. There's also no question how much people have been doing day and night to get things moving again in our highway. We have 250 pieces of heavy equipment mobilized, working on emergency repairs on our highway network throughout the province. Essential goods and services are moving again. And every day brings us a little bit closer to a return to normal, but we're in the midst of a tremendous challenge, and I want to extend my thanks and appreciation to literally hundreds of British Columbians, thousands, who've decided to roll up their sleeves, who are working alongside all of the different agencies in this response. And I will now hand things over to Minister Popham to provide her update.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Thanks to everyone who's joining us today. Well, we're about a week in, and I can tell you that our agricultural community is absolutely exhausted. They're tired. They're working 24 hours a day. There's a lot of pressure on them right now, but I can tell you that the messages of support from British Columbians is making a big difference. They know you've got their back, and so keep those messages coming in to support the agricultural community. A weekend, we've made just about 1,000 points of contact with people involved in food producing in the flood-affected areas, and that's including our daily video calls. This is going to continue. We've had excellent connections with rancher Julia Smith in Merritt, who's working with my assistant deputy, Arif Lalani, passing on important information in that area. Kevin Boone and the BC Cattlemen's Association continue to be a valuable partner and are keeping us apprised of the situation in the interior. Harvey Sasaki, the chair of the Chicken Marketing Board, and Jeremy Dunn, the executive director of the BC Dairy Association, have also been working very closely with us, and we appreciate that very much. You may have seen a story coming out of the Nicola Valley of some horses being rescued. I'd like to thank the BC Horse Council for stepping up. Horses were found to have no food and water. They had no shelter. They were sedated. They were put into feed bags, and they were helicoptered out of that area. And from all reports, they're doing well. So thank you to everyone who participated there. Emergency feed continues to get through. Yesterday, we were able to do that by ground, and this is very good news. A feed storage site has been set up in Abbotsford, and we've made excellent progress securing a stable grain supply through the cooperative efforts of all levels of government. This is going to be significant as we are able to keep livestock fed in the days ahead. We've begun ministry certification to help farmers, vets, and anyone supporting the flood response from an agricultural perspective to ensure that they are exempt from the fuel restrictions that are in place. Under the order, agricultural and farm use vehicles and veterinarians supporting the flood response are considered essential. Agricultural operators who use unmarked or private vehicles and require unrestricted access to fuel can request a permit from the ministry and have access to the fuel that they need. Very important as well, Highway 1 between Whatcom and Cole Road exits is scheduled to open a priority agricultural vehicles lane at noon today. This is great because it gives us another way of accessing the Sumas Prairie and allowing trucks to go down through Cole Road. This will ease some of the access permit requests coming in from farmers as they try and continue to get back to their farms. Our food supply chain remains in good shape as retailers and distributors are working really closely to keep the product moving and supply communities across the province. I'd really like to thank Save on Foods and Buy Low Foods who have worked with the province on emergency food distribution and impacted communities to quickly adjust their distribution networks in Edmonton and Calgary to supply food to smaller communities in need. So thank you so much for that. We know that the impacts from the flooding is having a profound impact on the agriculture sector, and we've made mental health supports available. This is really difficult times. I think I mentioned yesterday there's a lot of young folks involved in agriculture out in the valley, and they're feeling the pain right now, and so we're making sure that they've got the supports they need. It's a very emotional time. On a note, or more like a request, we do have folks out in the valley that are volunteering with their power boats, and we really appreciate these efforts. They're hauling things back and forth. They're allowing farmers to get into areas that are cut off, but we are also requesting that people watch their speed. The wake from those speed boats is affecting the farms that they're passing. We have one farm, a poultry farm, whose transformer is being affected by wake every time a boat goes by, and they're really the transformers are already compromised, and so if they lose this transformer, it's going to take down another few barns that have power right now. So we really appreciate your help, but if you could just keep the boat speed down, that would be fantastic. And then finally, we are making plans to get on the ground this week. We really wanted to make sure that we didn't get in the way and that we weren't taking away resources that were needed, but we expect to be hitting the ground in the Fraser Valley and doing an aerial view of other impacted areas soon. Thank you very much.
A reminder to reporters on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. You will be limited to one question and one follow-up. Our first question today goes to Camille Baines, Canadian Press.
Hi, this is for Minister Farnworth. I'm wondering about the Nooksack River issue and Washington State. Has the province been in any talks with officials in Washington State about the current impact of that river here?
We are in contact with Washington State about weather conditions and flooding conditions, both of us working together to keep each other informed. The Nooksack River is a particularly challenging issue and has been for a very long time. But I can tell you that not only are we in communication with Washington State, but they have been assisting us as well. And so that cooperation will continue.
Camille, do you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you. How do you expect the federal government here to respond to Washington State about this long-time issue on that river, as you say, so that we don't find ourselves in the same situation the next time? You know, we rebuild the dike, and what happens after that?
Obviously, there is going to be a significant rebuilding that has to take place after this event, and it's going to involve, not just our roads, but our dikes and our drainage and our pumping capacity, all of those things. And I fully expect that there will be engagement required between the federal government and the government of the United States. But what I can tell you is this. This is not a simple problem. This is a very complex problem. If it was simple, it would have probably been dealt with a very long time ago. But the reality is we know that this is an area that is a challenge in terms of flooding, and whenever an event like this continues or happens. And I can tell you that the province and Washington State are committed to working with each other, and I fully expect the federal government to be engaged as well.
Next question, Maria Weisgarber, CTV.
Oh, hi there. Just a question for Minister Fleming first. You mentioned, of course, that goods are now starting to move again throughout the South Coast in BC, and the Trucking Association has said that as well. But I'm wondering if you could speak to sort of managing the expectations of maybe consumers and maybe even retailers about the how quickly things are going to be moving, considering all the work that has yet to be done, and also with the loss of the Coquihalla for the next several weeks.
Yeah, thank you. And so we're working with retailers. We're working with all levels of government on the supply chain shortages that we're experiencing. And obviously, the fuel issue is one where we have brought in measures that are both on the demand side with the 30-liter restriction, rationing gas, and prioritizing emergency vehicles and other things that are necessary for the recovery, and, by the way, the movement of goods. So having commercial vehicles have priority access through cardlock stations to gas helps us get our food and all those things that are currently strained under the supply chain challenges moving again. So Highway 3 was critically important Friday. That's been very well utilized. Goods are on the move there. We do have reports that relaxations by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol in coordination with CBSA is helping get goods moving in transit back into the other parts of the province from the Lower Mainland. As I said a few minutes ago, too, the CP Rail update is very encouraging. 2/3 of containers are moved by rail in this province, so that will be a significant addition to the goods movement in the province of BC. But that's the priority. We're looking at other ways. We obviously have passenger vehicles and small vehicles prioritized on Highway 99, but I know that there's deliveries of items that are in short supply in communities that are serviced by that highway as well.
Do you have a follow-up, Maria?
I do. I have a question for a colleague, likely for Minister Farnworth. How quickly is the government able to develop a response plan if Environment Canada implements a category system for atmospheric rivers? And will that help you use the Alert Ready app when required?
We are very pleased that the federal government is putting in place, is working on with Environment Canada a ranking system for the atmospheric rivers. That will assist, I think, us greatly in getting an understanding of exactly what the nature of an atmospheric river is. I mean, it is obviously it is a new term that I think most of us are now becoming familiar with, and they have a ranking system in the States that will allow us to, I think, prepare more effectively. And my expectation is, from what I've been told, is that will be coming, looking to be implemented at the beginning of January 2022.
Next question goes to Belle Puri, CBC.
Minister Farnworth, you mentioned in your initial comments about support for Indigenous communities, but what's your response to the criticism that's coming from these communities in the storm-affected areas that they weren't given any warning and they couldn't get their people to safety? Will you be apologizing to these communities for the delay in communication?
As I said right from the beginning of this was an unprecedented natural disaster that hit this province.